Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. First things first, let's talk about the developments in Ukraine and what's going on the front. This article comes from Ukrainska Pravda and it's from the 6th of November 2022. Ukraine's armed forces repelled Russian attacks near 14 settlements in 4 oblasts. So if this comes from the Ukrainians, you can imagine that if the Russians attacked, probably they attacked more than they say, and probably the Russians had more success than these guys are claiming. Here they claim that the Russians attacked 14 settlements in 4 oblasts, and they were repelled. That means they were not attacked, let's say, with missiles or rockets. They were attacked with foot soldiers. That's how you repel them. How do you repel a rocket? You would say you repel it, you destroyed it or something like that. You defended your positions or something. Even that could imply foot soldiers. So that means the Russians are in an offensive that we don't know yet about, but we can guess by their choices of words. The armed forces of Ukraine have repelled attacks by the occupiers near settlements in Kharkiv, Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporozhye oblasts over the past 24 hours. The source is the General Staff of Armed Forces of Ukraine. Details. Occupiers' attacks have been repelled in areas in and around the settlements of Zibnie in Kharkiv Oblast, Bolohorivka in Luhansk Oblast, Andrivka, Bakhmutske, Berestov, Majorsk, Makivka, Marinka, Oze, so another, in Donetsk Oblast, about 5 more settlements, and Shevbanki in Zaporozhye Oblast. Over the course of the past 24 hours, Russian forces carried out 4 missile strikes and 19 airstrikes, as well as other 75 attacks using multiple launch rocket systems, MLRS. More than 35 Ukrainian cities, towns and villages came under Russian fire, including the settlements of Chernihiv, Sumy, Kharkiv, Donetsk, Zaporozhye, Kherson, and Mykolaiv Oblast. There were no significant changes on the Volyn and Polisia front. On other fronts, which I'm going to read right now, the Russians continued to attack military and civilian targets. I thought that the Russians attack only civilian targets. Now they put military. Good. That's an upgrade. On the Sivershchinya front, the Russians deployed mortars and tube artillery to shell areas. Now it says in Sumy Oblast. On the Slobozhanщina front, the Russians deployed mortars and tubed artillery to shell areas in and around some settlements, about 5 settlements, in Kharkiv Oblast. All those settlements were in Kharkiv Oblast. Now the next one is going to be, they're going to be in Kharkiv Oblast and Donetsk Oblast. It says on the Kupiansk and Liman fronts, the Russians deployed tanks meaning going, mortars and tubed and rocket artillery to fire on areas in and around the settlements and gives us about 3 settlements, as I said, in Luhansk Oblast and Liman and Torske in Donetsk Oblast. On the Bakhmut front, that's where they have they're in an offensive over there in Advivka and Bakhmut. That's the one before. So it seems like it continues. When you hear tanks, that means are offensive, not defensive tanks going back or something. On the Bakhmut front, the Russians used tanks and various artillery to fire on areas in and around Advivka, Bakhmut, about 6 more in settlements in Donetsk Oblast. Now on the Avdiivka front, the Russians used tanks again, mortars and tubed and rocket artillery to fire on areas in and around the settlements of Marinka, Advivka, and about 5 more in Donetsk Oblast. On the Zaporozhia front, the Russians deployed tanks, mortars, and tubed and rocket artillery to fire on areas in and around, it gives like 4 settlements in Zaporozhia Oblast. And on the Pivdeny Bukh front, more than 25 cities, towns, and villages situated along the line of contact came under Russian fire. So interesting here at the beginning, it said that the Russian forces carried out 4 missile strikes. That's all in a day. Okay. And then it had 19 airstrikes. That means, I'm assuming in this case, means aircraft. So, and then 75 attacks using multiple launch rocket systems. That's all they said here. And then 35 cities attacked. Well, it's weekend. I think they go home for the weekend or something. I continue to think that based on the information they provide, the Ukrainians provide, that the Russians are still advancing in Bakhmut and Adviivka front. It was another name mentioned over there where they said that the Russians are using tanks, I think 2 more, which that would tell me that they are in an offensive in those areas. I don't expect the Ukrainians to say, not the Ukrainians, the party that is defending its defensive lines, saying, oh yeah, you know what, we are losing here, unless they're asking for something from the West in this case. So they can say, well, we began losing territory, we're losing the fight, please give us something, and they ask based on that information that could be used like that. But other than that, you don't want to create a state of not emergency, but hysteria. Oh my God, the Russians are coming and they're breaking the 2 fronts that they said they're going to go and encircle possibly the Ukrainian military and forces. So probably they try to downplay, like you always downplay the successes of your enemy and you overemphasize your successes. The same with the losses. Minimize your losses, maximize the enemy's losses. The war is going on. There are some signs that the United States is trying to tell its minions, the kosher team in Ukraine, to maybe show some signs of openness to communicate and negotiate with the bad man Putin. We'll see if the employees, the guys on the payroll, the Zelenskys and the Zhmihals, will follow orders, or they will bite the hand that fed them for so long. We'll find out soon. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.